All right, well, we're at 10:45, so let's go ahead and get started. Garth is our presenter today, and if at any point throughout the session you guys have any questions, feel free to ask Garth or put it in the chat. And if anybody who's here, could you please introduce yourself in the chat at any point and let us know where you work, where you're from, and that would be great. So Garth, whenever you're ready.
Okay, let me share my screen here. Make sure this works. Let's see. Come on, baby. Go, 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 go. Hit the share button. Hey, you guys see a PowerPoint presentation there?
Yep.
All right. This is really clever. I have no fancy stuff, just a pure PowerPoint presentation. I talk about how to do CS really easy. Where are you from, WP?
Oh, sorry. I'm Whitney, and I teach in Frenchtown.
Frenchtown, okay.
Yeah.
Trisha's out at Bonner, and I'm at Loyola here in Missoula.
Awesome. I'm WP, so that when I have to get on the giant school board meetings, they don't know who I am.
That's a good idea. Good idea. And you keep this monitor off, right? No camera.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is how to do computer science on the cheap. By on the cheap, I mean almost free. The only time you have to spend money is if you want to spend money. And this is meant for teachers that are just getting into it, all the way up to people like me who teach, some high-level programming to some of the advanced kids. See if I can do this. All right, there's me. I've been teaching programming for about 30 years. First computer I programmed with is a TRS-80 back in '82. May not be old enough to know what a TRS-80 is. IT guy at Missoula, Catholic schools. I teach game programming, some dual credit courses through the University of Montana, some weird odds and ends. I got a minor in CS from U of M. All sorts of worthless stuff here. I gotta watch out when I'm moving my mouse. I've had like 2 formal programming courses in my life. The Fortran course here in 1971 was the punch cards. And the Java was I got in a fight with the teacher because every time I asked him to clarify something, he just talked louder. I told him he was an idiot, so I didn't do well in the course.
Oh, no.
So this is where most of my learning is from. YouTube. You can learn everything from YouTube. A lot of high schools try and produce programmers out of the high school level. I don't. I just teach kids how to learn to learn. That's my philosophy with math also. I teach math too. I've taught at Loyola for 20 years, and before that, I taught in Winifred, Montana, which is another very small school. No budget. And I'm used to operating with $0. So you get used to it. CS is probably one of the cheapest courses you can actually teach. We've got the hardware. The school usually has a computer lab somewhere. If they don't have a computer lab and you want to have the kids have their own computers, I hit the Montana State Recycle Warehouse over in Helena. I call him up and say, what do you got over there? And he says, I got this, 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 and this. And I drive over and he gives it to me. I come back. All of the computers I have in all of my labs in this school were free from that recycle warehouse. All my monitors, most of my switches, all my mice and keyboards. Every year I go over there and get about 100 mice and a bunch of keyboards, and when mice get destroyed, I throw them away. Or I give them to kids with laptops that don't have mice. Here's a mouse, so it's all free stuff. I use Windows primarily. Kids that come with Macs, I tell them they're on their own. They can figure stuff out. We use Chromebooks. I don't do Chromebooks. They're absolute pieces of, the software I teach with is all free. Everywhere from kindergarten to my advanced senior kids. It's all free software. I pay for nothing. Textbooks. I find free textbooks. My Unity course, there's a guy in Ireland. I buy his textbooks at $9 each, just a PDF. He sells it to me, and says, oh yeah, you can use that with as many kids you want. $9 textbook. And then I use a lot of YouTube. WP, did you disappear? Just turn off your camera.
I turned off my camera.
Okay, that's good.
Because it's on my phone. That's the only way I can get it to work. So you'll be like looking up my nose when I'm trying to watch the slides.
I'm very familiar with that look. That works. Just want to make sure I didn't lose you.
No, I'm still here.
If you guys have questions, make sure you spout off. This Montana.
I did have a question about that. So another teacher at our school has gotten a few things from the recycle department thing. But when you do it, do you just use them in your room, or do you are you forced to check them in through your school IT and get them on the network and all that stuff, or do you just put in the staff password? Oh, well, that's lucky.
I am the school IT. Most of the public schools that go over and use the state warehouse, all the IT people, they show up, they get a bunch of computers, and they put them in their network.
Okay.
The laptops I get from him, I don't put in my network. I give them to a kid and say, this is yours. If you have problems with it, bring it back. Other than that, I never want to see it again.
Okay.
The laptop belongs to the kid. They're free.
Okay.
You know, I make sure it's off my domain. Say, here, this is yours. I check out with the parents. I've had one parent in 10 years say, I don't want Johnny to have a laptop.
All right, cool.
It's dangerous. But other than that, I say, here, this is yours. Go away. Don't bring it back. When you graduate, take it with you. Because I get more free ones.
Okay.
I also hook up with a insurance company here in town. He gives me all his old stuff. And by old, it's like 5 years old and better than anything you or I could afford to buy.
Or the district has.
Yes, exactly. So the resources are out there. You just have to find out who can do it. And a lot of times I go through a parent. I put out the word to the parents and say, anybody working at an outfit that's recycling their gear. One year I got a whole bunch of laptops from a company that does how they collect debt collection company. And they had a bunch of 5-year-old, about 25-year-old laptops. And says, oh yeah, we're getting rid of these. We'll scrub them and give them to you. So those are out there.
Cool.
So free. I'm buying laptops this year because I need to get some new ones for the teachers. But this is the first time I've bought laptops in 15 years.
Oh.
Now, I'm getting new ones because the principal thinks they need better ones for Zoom and whatnot, which is sort of true.
Very cool, though.
Oh, you're late. I don't know. You got your permission slip for being late? No audio yet. But the sources out there there's a lot of places. When I first started this job, I'm having to buy stuff and we don't have any money, and parents says, oh, I work for so-and-so. I can get you this, I can get you this. And then I hooked up with the recycle warehouse. And then this has just been a lifesaver for us. Who was it? Christina. Okay. Hi, Christina.
Hello.
You're late. Do you have a tardy slip?
No, I couldn't get in.
What, your technology wasn't working perfectly? I don't understand. Okay, so free sources, hardware is easy to find. Believe it or not, a lot of people say, oh, it's so hard to find it. No, hardware is really easy to find. Next slide. I talked about my curriculum briefly here. I offer a full curriculum for free. Okay? Nothing I teach requires me to buy any software. Nothing here requires anything really special. Well, teaching the Oculus, my intro to game programming course here, I had to buy an Oculus, and I'm buying some high-end gaming computers. So it'll do some of the software. Software is free, but the computer that wants to run on is a little bit more intense than I have to get for free. But I managed to buy those for less than $800. Fancy, high-speed gaming computers. So if you're Christina, where do you teach?
I'm out in Potomac.
Okay, so we have 2 Potomac people, and okay. So you don't have to worry about the dual credits out there. But I mean, all this stuff I teach, it costs me nothing, absolutely nothing. Computer apps, I teach a hardware-based course also, tech course. I tear apart old computers and put them back together. Don't have to buy anything. Be very careful. I have a very touchy mouse here. This is something I encountered a few years ago when I started talking to people. The number of teachers that are trained in computer science is basically really close to zero in Montana. To get certified in Montana, you have to have a business degree or a computer science degree. And if you have a computer science degree, you don't want to be a teacher. You want to make 6 figures instead of 3. So the shortage of professional development is horrible through Montana, especially the colleges. They're starting to get up to speed. MSU has started to offer some summer programs at U of M. They actually pay you $1,000 for 5 days to attend their summer courses instead of you paying them, which is kind of nice. Finding people, there aren't many computer science teachers in this state, so it's interesting. To get certified can be pretty tricky. There's a new certification route through OPI, but the number of hours required seemed a bit much for what they wanted to do. So, most teachers get into teaching computer science. I know a couple of them, business teachers. I know one lady who was a typing teacher. The principal walked in and says, you need to teach a computer science course next year because you're the only person that can get certified. And she was about 65 and been teaching typing for 30 years. I was sitting next to her when she was telling me the story. It's kind of a chuckle. So the shortage is there. And there's not a good way to solve it at the moment. Come on, mouse. There we go. I talked about Montana Recycling, Scott Buswell. There is his email address. You should have access to the slide presentation. And if you don't, you can write it down. Just email Scott. Tell him who you are, what you're looking for, and he'll say, oh, I've got it. Yep, here it is. What you get from him has no operating system on it. So you have to have a license. You come and get it. He does not deliver. And whatever he has is whatever he has. Sometimes you score really big. One year I walked in his place and he had a huge smart board sitting there. And I looked at it and he looked at me and I pointed it. What's that here? So it's got a mark on it. And the school that was at didn't want it anymore. And yes, it had a little tiny mark about 1/4 of an inch big in one of the corners. I put it in the back of my truck and drove away with a 1-year-old smartboard. So it's nice. Like I said earlier, local businesses. 1 year here in town, St. Pat's was redoing all their equipment. And luckily, a friend of mine was helping them run their recycle. And I got a whole bunch of computers from them. I probably got 40 computers from them. So finding stuff is easy. Hardware is easy to find. Free curriculum. You don't want to reinvent the wheel. You want somebody else's curriculum. MakeCode.com. Microsoft product. This thing is slick. This will walk you through how to do it as a teacher. It is, I mean, you can just type in make code when you're done with this and it pops up and you go, ooh, cool. It uses a bunch of hardware. One of the pieces of hardware used is these little guys, the microbits. This little microbit is a computer, 100% a computer. It's got on this surface right here a bunch of LEDs, and the kids make the lights flash and things like that. This thing costs $10 to $20, depending on who you buy it from. If you don't want to buy this, MakeCode.com has a virtual one on there. The kids will do the exact same thing, except they don't have to plug this in the computer and download it. A little virtual one pops up, and they learn how to program, make little smiley faces, and this thing will actually get pretty fancy. On the edge here, a bunch of contacts. You put alligator clips on the contacts, and you can run robots, anything you want to do. So this is kind of a nice little device, but you don't need the device. You just go to make code, and it's a virtual environment. MSU's Joy and Beauty Computing. It's a textbook that they put online for their classes. Go there and you have that textbook. It's a PDF. You can download it, or you can just do it. They have it as links, a series of links. A full program for, I would say, your juniors and seniors that want to know how to run Python. And you can get dual credit for this course, CSCI 107. So again, it's 100% free. If you're new to teaching Python, you go through this. Oh, okay, I can learn how to do this. This one right here, Mobile CS Principles. This is using a couple types of software, but again, it's a full curriculum. You've got kids, especially you have remote kids that want to do a CS course. You point them at this and say, okay, send me a progress report every Friday. And you let them go. Small Basic. This is a computer language. Full curriculum is available. My full curriculum, this is written by Microsoft. Microsoft, from my experience, is horrible at writing good curriculum for kids. They write curriculum for people that already know the language, but you can cherry pick on this thing. You pull out the good stuff and say, oh, I can use this, I can use this, I can use this. But it is a full, small basic curriculum. Kodu. I got 3 through 7. You could probably do this down to smart kindergartners. But this right here, there's a nice little how to run Kodu. Whole curriculum. And code.org, if you go to code.org, they're going to study stuff, but they have some free curriculums on there also. I've used a couple of theirs just to fiddle with them, and they're pretty good. 5 years ago, code.org was horrible, and now they've got some actually really good writers, and they've made some really good stuff. But you don't have to write your curriculum from scratch. It's all there. Something's available out there. Free textbooks. This is more high school based stuff, but it's out there. This right here, I would throw this at an 8th grader easily. Okay, a smart 8th grader is a computer geek, no problem. Java, I won't talk about Java. Java and I have a disagreement. We don't get along well. C#, this is more for junior, senior level stuff. JavaScript, you can do JavaScript with probably 6th graders on up. There's stuff out there that's nice. Just Google it, and you'll find stuff for your grade level. Any programming language you want to encounter, we'll talk about some of those later. There's stuff out there on YouTube. YouTube saves my computer. I live on YouTube. Cheap textbooks. I buy this guy's books all the time when he comes out. This guy has stopped producing, but his books are still out there. And if you want to do games, he has some good stuff. But again, you look at the price. The other day I paid $9.99 for this guy's newest textbook in 2D graphics. Now, $10 for a textbook that you can use for your whole class. You can't beat that. Software, like I said, I paid nothing. If I paid anything ever for, I can't think I've ever paid for teaching software. You can find stuff from early ed, and I'll show you software. From early ed, I'm talking kindergarten up to, you got some kid that wants to go directly from high school and working for Microsoft. I mean, it's all out there for free. That's free. Tutorials are out there. First-time programming teacher. Principal comes in and says, hey, I want you to offer a computer science course of programming next year. And you go, oh, golly, I can't spell programming with 2 M's consistently. It's easy to find stuff out there. YouTube. This right here, I should have deleted this line. This is a Microsoft blog, yammer.com, Microsoft Teachers. it's pretty dead. But if you do have questions about some of their Microsoft software, you can actually talk to the writers from Microsoft that make the software. You put a note on this blog, and 24 hours later, you're talking to the guy that wrote the software. So, how do you do this? Oh yeah, you do this, and away they go. They're happy as a clam to help you. This was a big one a few years ago. I was on here all the time asking questions, but it's kind of laxed off. Okay, let's talk about some languages. Any questions on what's going on? Deep abiding meaning?
Did anybody say what grades they teach? Sorry, I was just curious. I'm moving to 4th grade this year, and I previously have taught kindy. So I've done some super basic coding, just like robot turtle style and that kind of stuff, but I'm hoping to get a little more advanced with the 4th graders. I was just wondering, you teach high school, what the other folks on here teach as far as coding and computer science?
I teach K-8 Title I. I don't do computer science, but I'm kind of interested in learning.
And I teach 6th through 8th grade science, but I have a STEM elective that thought it would be fun to add this in. And I've done a little bit of it, but not much at all.
Cool. Sorry, I was just curious.
The interesting thing is, most teachers in Montana are in the exact same place you are. The schools want to offer a computer science, or you have a teacher that's kind of interested in offering something. Montana's at the very beginning. You go back east, they've been teaching computer science for 20 years back there. Talking about beginning, starting with kids, Kodu. Kodu, you can see Kodu's right here. It's a drag and drop little language designed for Microsoft. Says 3 to 8. You can take this down to kindergarten and tinker with it. I know our tech teacher over at St. Joe's, I think she's doing this with 1st and 2nd graders. Huge amount of tutorial material out there to do it. It's 3D. You can see that down here, you can move things around. It's a little character that moves around. You can make little games. You can make mazes. And this was something, I can't remember if I built this one or if this is one of the built-in ones. But a very simple, easy language, fun for kids to play with. Hardly any typing at all. They don't have to run a keyboard. Teacher knowledge is very low. This is something I know nothing about programming. I need something to give my kids. Okay. And there's a tutorial that'll walk you through it. The install is fairly trivial. Your IT department won't hate you for it. Here's the link to it. If you go on YouTube, there is so much Kodu stuff. It's great. You don't have to spend a lot of time getting started for kids. You usually find a good tutorial and say, okay, you can follow this. Let's walk through this. But it's easy. It's fun. Beginner stuff, and it can build onto something else. They learn how to process things. How to, this has got to happen and this has got to happen in order, and they learn all the basics of programming. Scratch has been around since the beginning of time, I think. Most people know Scratch. I'm a terrible Scratch programmer because I'm a terrible drag and dropper. But again, it's good for young kids. We teach it to our freshmen here as their introductory first programming language. Doesn't care what computer you're running it on. There's a new version that's web-based, so you don't even have to load anything. Your IT department just has to make sure there's a hole in their firewall. It'll go to it. It'll probably work just fine without the hole in the firewall. 3rd grade on up easily. Maybe if you know what you're doing, you go down to 1st and 2nd grade. Fairly straightforward. Again, you don't have to know much. You can just find some tutorials. Scratch has a huge amount of tutorials on their website. Kids love it. This is a big one.
There's a Scratch Junior now too.
Yes, there's various levels of Scratch. Scratch is also starting to expand. You can actually control some computers with it. Not computers, but robots with it. I've seen people take this cat and everything the cat did, a robot would do. There's several websites out there that's what they do. They say, what can we do with Scratch? And it goes crazy. Scratch has earlier, 5-6 years ago, Scratch, people are saying, oh, it's just so limited. It's a dead end programming language. It's going anywhere. Nah, Scratch can go all sorts of bizarre places. If you want to do some robotics, you can do it with Scratch. It's kind of cool that way. I love Alice. Everything I'm talking about here is free, stone cold free. Alice is maintained by Carnegie Mellon, or is it MIT? No, Carnegie Mellon. Some of the other stuff is MIT. It's a very active language. MIT is always working on it. You can contact the people at MIT that are actually doing it. The reason I love Alice, it's a 3D program, and you write scenarios. I have my kids write a scene from a Shakespeare play. I tell them, you find a Shakespeare play, there's some conversation and some movement or a scene of Shakespeare, and they write a play up, and you run it, and the characters are moving and walking and talking. And, one of them did Macbeth with the ghost. The ghost showed up, and that wasn't Macbeth. That was Hamlet. Did the Hamlet ghost scene. A lot of them like to do the witches scene from Macbeth, the Toil and Trouble thing, but they actually can build a play out of this thing. It's very 3D. Works on pretty much any computer. Lower elementary, you can do some simple stuff. You can do some really fancy stuff. You need to have a little bit, I say medium. You have to be willing to put some time into it to figure it out. It's not trivial. Kodu, Scratch, pretty trivial. This thing's a little bit step above trivial. But again, there's a huge amount of tutorial material out there. The website at alice.com or .org, I think, .org. You can contact people there that are really happy to help. It's an easy install. Textbooks. These are the people that originally wrote it. I got this textbook for $1 on eBay. Now, you really don't need a textbook. Why did I buy a $1 textbook? Because I had about 5 kids and they wanted to take things home. I said, okay, here's a textbook for $1. Go for it. If you want to do things above and beyond program, you want to bring an English class assignment in where they have to build a play or build a conversation or write a children's book that's animated. Alice is really great for that. It's fun, and you check the box that says multi-curricular. When I tell them I tell my high school kids they have to write do Shakespeare in this thing. They go, oh no, Shakespeare! I hate Shakespeare. But then they get into it because now they're understanding. Oh, the witch is going to do this, or the ghost is going to come in here, and the ghost says this, and all of a sudden they have this scene down from Shakespeare, and the English teacher's impressed. So Alice is a kick. Alice will also lead your advanced kids into Java. Don't have high school teachers here that are into Java, so not a big deal, but it's not dead end.
It looks like it's drag and drop sort of from what you were showing.
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
okay?
Drag these things over into here. You drag things here into here. And in fact, Alice has got a feature you can switch it over from drag and drop to typing. And I never do.
Oh, okay.
So you can have dual mode. Yeah, one of the reasons I say this is medium or an intermediate language is learning all the menus they have over here. There's
Sure.
so much cool stuff when you dig around. After a while, you kind of get buried. Lost. Yeah, you get lost or buried. If you use it for a few weeks, you go, oh, this is here, this is here, this is here, this is here, and it starts to make sense. I do it very briefly. I do like a 3-week session on it where they're doing their play, and the kids learn the fundamentals of it. And what's important to me is not that they know how to run Alice, but they learn how to learn Alice. Oh, you want to do this in you want to do your ghost to fade out? Oh, we better Google how to make a ghost fade out, how to make something fade out in Alice. And they're, oh, Google it. Oh yeah, okay, we'll try that. So it's learning how to learn. But I have a blast with this. Thunkable. Thunkable is about 3 years old. MIT App Inventor has been around about 10 years. This is if you want to write simple phone apps and literally put them on your phone. I don't think I have any Thunkable ones on my phone anymore. Oh yeah, I do. Last year I had the kids build an app that all right, phone, come on, come on, come on. There we go. Let's see, where is that at? That one. I had them build an app with all of the reservations. There it is. Here's one of the kids. I don't know how well you can see this. Here's all the Montana reservations.
Oh, cool.
Click on a reservation, and it pulls up information about that reservation, what peoples live on it, what the demographics is, where it's at, all that stuff. And the kids built these apps. And it's an app you can post on an app store. You know, but it's one they built. I mean, it's all the pictures and everything. Thunkable is, you don't need to know anything about Thunkable. The tutorials are incredibly easy. It's real easy to do basic stuff. You want to get fancy, yes, you have to spend some more time. But if you want your kids to actually build an app, they can take home to mom and dad and say, see, I built this on my phone. See, here it is. Android. Thunkable works with iPhones, but iPhone store is really unfriendly to work for. So if you have an Android phone, you can download it directly from the computer to the Android, and mom and dad can see exactly what you're doing in class. Wow, that's kind of cool. So I had all my kids, I had them pair up, and each pair built a app for the Indian reservations in the state. Easy to use. The Thunkable is written in India. You can talk directly to the India guy that's building Thunkable. You text him and he texts you back in a funny language. But you chat with the guy, says, yeah, can we get this feature built in there? Oh, give me about the week. I will have that done. And away you go. Super cool. You're talking to the programmer for this thing. It's expanding fairly rapidly. It's a blast to work with. MIT App Inventor. Thunkable is MIT App Inventor on steroids.
Oh, okay.
They got permission. The guys that wrote Thunkable used to be at MIT and working for the App Inventor group. They got permission to take App Inventor and modify it. Well, after they modified it, they didn't like it anymore, and they rewrote the whole thing. Get into the two, they look identical. Just a Thunkable has been cleaned up, works much better, is really nice. You know, so if you want to do a phone app with 6th graders, Thunkable will work. It's that easy to do it. But again, Android. If you want to do iOS, you can't download directly from the computers and phone. With Android, you just plug it in, you bring your game over, and away it goes. That's why I have an Android phone.
Sorry, did other people lose sound?
Lots of tutorials. Some high schools are using it in their CS Principles course. It's kind of cool. Like this next semester, my computer science 100 class will be doing some Thunkable projects. Make code, I talked about that. Little device here. They have the virtual device. The make code one, St. Joe's, I think she's doing it down. She might be going as low as the 4th grade with make code. And depending on how good your kids are, you might even be able to take it lower than that. But this is the virtual environment you see when you go to make code. And all you're doing is you're programming a little drag and drop program here, very similar to Scratch, and you make lights blink on this virtual device. This blue thing is this thing right here. Program these, and then also these lights blink over So you don't need to buy this thing. It's all there. I bought these because kids like playing with it. You know? And if you want to do more than make lights blink, you want robots to run, it'll run robots. Kind of cool. Microsoft, again, completely free. You can have so much fun with Make Code with your kids. It's a blast. And it's web-based, so you don't have to worry about your IT department. Just try and see if you can get in there. They have it blocked. You go ask them, can you open up makecode.com so I can get to it? Being the IT guy, all of this stuff is really easy for me, so I just go do it. There we go. Small Basic. This is the first line code language I teach my kids. It's not drag and drop, but it's very friendly. Let's see if I can open it up here. I love Small Basic. I've been using Small Basic for about 15 years now as the first semi-serious language. This may take it a while. There it is right there. Very simple. Everyone seeing this okay? Very simple. You start typing, and everything that begins with a P appears over here. Things that, so there's the whole language is right there. So if you can't remember what to type, oh, there it is over there in this menu. And it's not print, it's right. This one. No, it isn't right. That was right line. I have too many languages in my head. Anyway, it's very simple to use. And this is a very active language. It gets changed about once, twice a year. You can actually talk to the people that write this thing at Microsoft. Small Basic had a weird origin. Some guys at Microsoft used to buy a Microsoft computer, or it would come with BASIC built into the computer, the programming language. Well, that disappeared. Microsoft stopped doing that. These guys says, well, we want to do that again. So they wrote Small Basic and made it available to everybody. They did it as a hobby. This is a bunch of guys at Microsoft that needed a hobby, so they wrote this programming language for kids, and it's incredible for doing a line code language. A lot of turtle stuff, mostly for turtles. I have the kids build a house and a castle. One kid built the Lord of the Rings, a Hobbit, made a Hobbit house. I mean, it's great for that. Very simple line code. IntelliSense is the scrolling thing that appears up. There's an online version, so you don't have to worry about installing it. Middle elementary, mostly because kids have to know how to type. Now, you can probably take it down to 4th grade, but since I don't teach 4th grade, I have no idea what 4th grade really do. So, but this is the beginning language, I would say, for a line code language. It's not real bright, but it's fun to tinker with. This is the second language I teach in my Programming 1 course. YouTube stuff everywhere. If you go to Google Small Basic, go to the website, full of tutorials, full of conversation. You can't lose. If you really get wild, it hooks up, it'll control Lego EV3 robots. Game Maker. Used to be free. No longer free. I don't do much Game Maker anymore. If you have a kid that's really ambitious and wants to build a really cool, semi-professional, two-dimensional game, Game Maker is a great place to go. There's a demo version, but I think the demo version only lasts like 4 weeks. But this would be, if you're really dedicated into building a two-dimensional game. I don't talk too much about Game Maker anymore. Python, high school stuff, upper middle school. Python can be a professional language. A lot of colleges use it. This is U of M's introductory language. Their 101 course uses Python. You have a kid coming out of high school that knows Python. First year of college CS as a senior. Free books everywhere. Tutorials everywhere. You know, you got some 8th grader that's just blowing your socks off. You can't keep him under control programming-wise. He wants to do more and more and more. This is what you give him. So here's some Python stuff. You can do mouse stuff with this or turtle stuff. Python's huge in the university levels for things other than programming. A lot of the medical stuff is now written in Python. Research companies use Python. What do I got down here? Oh, there's a code.org has a Python curriculum. There's so much stuff on Python out there. If you want to get the kid started, get him out of your hair because he's got an IQ of 180, this is what you give him. I got a couple kids like this. I'd say, here's Python. Then I'd run out of the room and be out of the way. I got Java. I'm done with Java. JavaScript. I know nothing about JavaScript other than a lot of people use it. CodeHS has a program, has a curriculum on JavaScript. JavaScript is used for a lot of languages on phones, games on phones. That's not something I've dove into very deep. Got too many things going. Android Studio. Where is it? You got to know Java. Better not be nervous. Better have a good computer. This thing is the professional game or phone app writing software. It's free, 100% free. So if you have some kid that's got a great idea and Funkable only goes so far and he wants to produce this thing, tell him, well, you're learning Android Studio on your own. Here it is. And you get out of the way. 100% free. I've got a couple months into Android Studio and backed out because it was so intense. It takes, I was probably spending 2 to 3 hours a day learning this thing. So this is one, yeah, you don't do it casually. But it is the professional Android app writing software. There is professional iPhone writing software out there, but I don't use Mac, so I don't dabble in very much. High school stuff, professional level, Visual Basic. I dabble in this a bit. Same thing, Microsoft, professional level stuff. Definitely not something to do for middle schoolers. This is what I do most when I teach. This is my priority. I would do this with 6th graders. Unity, half the kids' games on their phone are probably written in Unity. This thing is free. The free version is identical to the commercial version. They can write games in Unity and stick it on their phone. You ask them what their most favorite game is on their phone. Google it and see if it's written in Unity. It probably is. Learning curve isn't that steep because there's so much on YouTube for Unity. There's a little, which Unity is this one? Oh, yeah. No, this is something I downloaded from somewhere, but you write games. It's professional game writing. If you want to write something for any game platform out there that kids play with in their house, Unity is probably what those games are written in. Either that or Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine's also free. I don't have much here on Unreal Engine because it's not one I use regularly. 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional games. There's so much on YouTube and Unity. How I got started in Unity, I found a teacher was teaching her middle schoolers Unity. Well, I can try that with some of my kids, and took off. It is a black hole. If you get into Unity, yeah, the kids aren't going to get fed that night. The husband's doing laundry. You're in the black hole. You just don't come up for air. I've come to all of a sudden at 2 o'clock in the morning and said, wait a second, I got to go to school in the morning. I better put this away. So this is the guy that's in Ireland. Very inexpensive books. That's the $10 book. You combine this with Blender. You have a year-long curriculum with gaming course. Blender makes figures. If you want to make a robot, you want your own robot. That's what you use Blender for. You make your robot. A normal computer, by normal I mean something, i3, i5, something, 10-year-old computer works fine. In fact, I have this running on 10-year-old computers now. This year, I have kids that are going to use the Oculus. The Oculus is a three-dimensional goggles that kids wear to play games. I bought one of those. You write games in Unity for the Oculus. And they're looking all over the place and they make their own game. So that's what I'm teaching this year. Google Cardboard, you don't see too much anymore. Unreal Engine, another free game engine. It's just this and Unity are two different ones. They do have different strengths. Some games you would write in Unreal, some you would write in Unity. This one is terrible in the sense of the amount of YouTube stuff available. There's hardly any. And their website is horrible for tutorials. Unity has complete curriculums. You go on Unity's website and there's full curriculums. They even have a curriculum designed for teachers. If you want to learn Unity, there's a curriculum. Here's how you teach Unity. So Unity is a powerhouse for education. Unreal is a powerhouse for professionals. There's not much stuff out there for starters. Blender. You make things like this. Doesn't look very good right now. This is halfway through a tutorial I did a couple years ago. It's going to be a submarine. If you ever look at the cover of the Beatles' Yellow Submarine, back in vinyl days, some of you remember vinyl. You all look old enough to know what vinyl is. I say it to my kids, and they, what's vinyl? A record, a needle you spin around. What? You're crazy. But anyway, this is a tutorial. You build a yellow submarine that's on the cover of the Beatles album. And you actually build things with Blender. Free. I mean, this is a professional level, three-dimensional graphic building software. Yeah. Steep learning curve. This thing takes time. It takes a lot of time. A lot of tinkering. You pull your hair out. If you give this to a class, do not give it to a class with average students in it. They will have major issues. It needs to be a class of kids that are really into it. They're willing to put the time into it because it is a pain in the keister to learn. This is probably what I'm going to give. I have one kid that's going to be doing remote because of medical situations. It's maybe where I start him. IQ of 160, 170. Scary kid. Other game engines, yeah, don't worry about that too much. Some prices on stuff. Microbit, which was this little gadget for about 16 bucks. I found them cheaper than that. An Arduino for my hardware class is another. This is a computer, and you can plug little lights over here, and you can make the lights flash and all sorts of stuff. A lot of robots you buy for schools for education purposes. This is what's inside of it, is this little computer right here. Arduinos, you can get $50 to $100 or a lot cheaper. This is for a full kit. This is a kit I bought right here. Like this cost me 80 bucks, and it's got, when I give this to a sixth grader, a smart one, yeah, this thing has got lights, and this thing right here is a little sonic distance reader that comes in the kit. Little numbers that flash. You can make a calculator. So if you have money and you want to do something or hands-on, Arduino kits are a good place to go. If you're really lost and want something you can give your fourth graders and just having fun, PyPod is a company that makes comic books that are designed to teach Arduino. And $39 buys you a set of comic books with the Arduino itself, with this thing. And the kids work through the comic books, and the comic books are different themes. Like one is the project is the girl wants to water her garden, and she wants to make a computer that will control when the water turns off and on. And that's what the Arduino kit does. You go in and you make this little thing. The comic book goes through this whole thing. Why do I want to water my garden? I want to grow this stuff. And the comic book guides you through it. It's great. I've met the guy that writes this stuff. And he's a character. If you have questions about PodPie, you email, you Google PodPie, you find the website, you email him. The guy that writes this stuff answers you back. And he'll send you free copies of things. If you want to see, he's got like 20 different themes, and he'll send you a copy of each one of those themes. And you look at it and say, yeah, this would work great for my fourth graders or my sixth graders or, my starter freshmen. But this is definitely a great thing to go with. And it's almost give it to the kids, stand back, and help occasionally. You don't have to tutor, you don't have to lecture. They read through it, you help them go through it. There's a teacher manual that comes with it. Really nice setup. Robotics. I don't know of any free robots. There's some free software out there that will control robots. You can make inexpensive robots with the Arduino kit. And Co-Drone is a drone that you can program, pretty cheap. What I paid for mine, like $20, $30, something like that. And you can control it. You can program the robot or the drone to fly a certain course and whatnot. It doesn't have a controller like most of them. You type in the controls or the commands, and it goes up and flies its course and lands. And it sometimes works. It usually runs into a wall first. Or I was doing it in my office. My office is fairly small, and I had one of my students playing with a Co-Drone, and she kept hitting herself in the head with the thing when it took off. It was hilarious. What else I got here? Okay. Websites and sources. Kids are tired of playing with computers. CS Unplugged. It's a curriculum for doing computer stuff without computers. It's great. Code.org. A lot of good stuff there. I'm not too crazy about Code Combat. I don't like the idea of combat involved at school. Kind of a personal thing there. Code HS. Lots of good stuff there. This right here is Computer Science Teachers America. If you get into programming, eventually you want to start looking at their website, plucking stuff off. This is the Microsoft site for teachers. There is some good middle school stuff here. Lots of good middle school stuff. A lot of it's outside stuff. It was written in New Zealand, so when you go to their website and they have the kids doing things, all the kids are in uniform. New Zealand's big into uniforms in their schools. So this is well worth looking at, especially if you're just trying to start off. And a list of blogs that I look at. And I think I am done. Questions? Answers?
It's a lot to take in.
A lot to take in. The biggest thing with doing all this, like when I got started, I knew nothing about any of these. I picked one, I played with it for a little while, then I went and found a smart kid. Being at a high school, that was a lot easier than, teaching fourth grade. But, if you're teaching fourth grade, you find a fourth grader that's bored stiff and you say, go play with this for a little while. Tell me what you think about it. And you make the kid not necessarily learn the language, but you ask, what do you think about this one? Then you go to up here. Okay, now go play with Kodu. Tell me what you think about that one. What do you think about Alice versus Kodu? And your fourth grader will say, oh, Kodu was kind of easy. Alice was more fun. And you put it on the kid to tell you instead of you telling the kid. And they take off like all of a sudden you're hanging on for dear life. Yeah.
Thank you.
But oh, sorry, go ahead, Tricia.
I was just gonna say thank you. It's just getting out there and exploring with somebody.
Believe it or not, it's exploring. You spend hours and hours. My living room, I have dual monitors and a computer sitting there, and I can sit and work on my computer and I watch TV at the same time. Because I spend hours in front of the computer tinkering with stuff, trying to find stuff for my kids. I really don't have a life. My daughter's 25 and she's out of the house. My wife is retired, so this is what I do kind of for fun. Keeps me off the streets at night, keeps me sober, things like that. Not that I don't drink, but so it gives me things to do, and it's fun if you like solving puzzles. If you like reading a lot, in the sense of novels and whatnot. Playing with this kind of stuff is kind of fun, and you really enjoy having the kids explore stuff. I have one class for my freshmen that I give them all of these languages, and I have them write a paper that says, which language you use for this? Which language you use for this? What do you think about this language? This is 9th and 10th graders. What language do you think would work best for 4th graders? And they come back, oh, this one would work great for 4th. This one not so good. And they build this thing that isn't programming, but it's understanding programming. So it's kind of cool that way. Other questions?
I was just going to ask, you said essentially that you don't use Chromebooks for any of this just because of their weak capacity to keep anything open, or?
Mostly because software needs to be installed. Like Kodu, you can't do it.
Okay.
There's no web. Chromebooks are for web interface things.
Yeah.
You can do Scratch on a Chromebook now. You can actually do Python on a Chromebook. Alice, they're trying to build right now they're in the process of building a web-based Alice. Thunkable, I don't think, yeah, Thunkable should work on a Chromebook. And also a lot of Chromebooks, are a $200 Chromebook, a little bit short on processing speed,
Yeah.
graphics. It has some issues. And a lot of my stuff is, I think this will work on a Chromebook. And I don't have any Chromebooks in the school. I teach too many things that require a hard drive.
Okay.
With Chromebooks, you go through the list. You say, okay, has anything happened lately? Can I do Scratch? I think you can do Scratch now. I think Scratch on a Chromebook is like months old. That's how new some of the stuff is.
Okay.
Like I say, I do Unity is one of my big courses. Unity and Unreal Engine. Unity I can run on a brick. Won't run on a Chromebook at all. I shouldn't say that. You can, if you can hack a Chromebook, which your IT department's really pissed at. But you can get Unity to run on a Chromebook if you crack it.
Okay.
Unreal Engine won't run on a 10-year-old computer. This right here, I bought some new computers just so I can have an Unreal segment in my gaming course. But yeah, the Chromebook stuff, it's getting better and better. 5 years ago, none of this stuff would work on a Chromebook. I have kids that come into my high school with Chromebooks, and I says, take it back and get a laptop because you need to do more stuff. But that's changing quite a bit. Chromebooks are getting better, and the companies are starting to realize that, yeah, we need to have things that run on Chromebooks. The schools are using
A little bit heftier of a capacity.
Yes, exactly. Other questions? Meaning of life? Are we going to enjoy the school year? Are we going to love living behind masks? That's what I have. If you don't have any questions.
Thank you, Garth.
If you want to get a hold of me, my email is on there. If you have other things and I didn't cover something in depth, or you have questions about some piece of software, I'm not shy. Go ahead and email me, and I will answer you. It's nice to have people out there that are trying to do things.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for
Okay.
your time.
Bye-bye.